with this movie, The Wish Swap, where did the first idea come from?
So this was not my idea. This was a work for hire.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah. Michael at News had reached out to me about another project, and they were looking to bring another writer on. And he had liked a project I had done apparently, and thought, hey, let's just have a call. And Bobby contacted me. And he said, hey, I'm going to call and talk. And they were great. And they sent me something and said, this may be flowing, and we kind of look for someone who would be able to write on that and pop in. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. And then he comes and said, okay, that's shelved, but we have this other one that popped, and they had turned in just the basic half a page, I think, a page maybe.
Hmm.
The concept of the wish had to Hallmark, then Almore, it was like, yeah, it's gonna go fast.
Wow.
Do you write it? And I'm like, sure. So
We'll kick right into it here. We got connected through my friend Bobby, who works at Muse Entertainment USA. We had him on the podcast probably a couple months ago, talked about his role as a development manager. And I told him we're getting an episode ready for Valentine's Day. We want to talk about, romance movies, rom-coms, but I really want to talk to a screenwriter because in my year plus that we've had this podcast, I've had a couple short film writers, but I haven't really had screenwriters on here to talk about their process or what they like about screenwriting. So I'm glad he got us in touch. And I guess my first question to you is when did you start screenwriting and what was your first interest that got you started in writing?
I've been doing it for a long time as a hobby. And it's sort of, there'd be years when I won't do it at all, and other times when I would be real prolific and get into it. Oddly enough, I got into it because someone had given me for Christmas a book, Sense and Sensibility. The
Okay, yeah.
yeah, and Emma Thompson had kept a diary the whole time, and there was so much going on during the filming of that became kind of an interesting thing. It's from Christopher Reeve had this accident. It's from Hugh Grant got arrested, and just hearing her take on all this, and then at the end of it was the screenplay that she had turned in, and it was like something clicked. It was like, "Wait, that's really interesting." And it never really dawned on me that that was something you could do
Yeah.
because I guess I'm a slow learner. I don't know, but it was like, "Hey, that's a job." And so I kind of got into it that way, and just sort of worked around for a while, cut my way, and tried different things, and was lucky enough to have some really, really good feedback that kept me
Mhm.
going because I don't have a great attention span sometimes. And so sometimes early on to hear this things happen was nice. So yeah, it's just working.
That's great. Through reading led you to writing. And for all of our listeners, are you in the LA area or how did you first kind of get in contact with people making films and get your screenplays produced?
Really all over the internet.
Oh,
Everything was
really?
all over the internet. So I was living in Baltimore when I first started doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband's job was they were closing down that office and he had the option of going to Jersey or going to San Diego. And I'm like, so we came out here to San Diego. I was
Nice.
not that big of a choice, although I love Jersey. I'm in that way, but it was like, let's do something different. Let's go crazy. And he's a California guy from Northern California, Northern California. So he was either from San Diego. So it made it nice. It was easy to go up and to see people and to go to things, but still not be really right.
Yeah, San Diego's not small, but there's a little less traffic there. The weather's a little nicer down there, which is an added bonus of being a little outside Los Angeles.
Studios when we first moved here every day. My husband would get up and look out the window, but it's another gorgeous day. How can this be? And we're moving in a month. So we're
Oh,
moving to
wow.
Chicago. So we're gonna die.
Yeah, a little colder there, just
Yeah.
a bit. Okay, so came out to San Diego. You were able to come out, like you said, for events and things without being in the thick of it. Now, I know at least on your IMDb, there's some early movies, 2007, 2012, 2016. We had Linda Palmer on for Halloween, the queen of Halloween herself. Um,
Yes.
And I was a PA on a film for her in 2018, but I've connected with her since then. And talk to me little bit about how you got connected with her with Halloween Party and Last Call at Murray's, and just how that process goes from having a script to submitting or connecting with someone to getting something made.
I met my co-writer, Brian, on that project, just on the internet, on Francis Ford Coppola had it way back in the day, a site called American Zoetrope, and a lot of writers were hanging out on there and talking.
Mhm.
And Brian and I became friends that way. And we thought, let's write something low budget. Let's write a single location film to get something made. And it's getting cheaper and cheaper to make projects by yourself or with a small crew. And then, as it turned out, I had another project called Temperature at Foxford, but it was okay. And we went out, and I think she ran an ad looking for projects in the internet somewhere. And I submitted to her, and she has to read it, and we just went from there. Finally, quickly.
That's great. And what does a screenwriter stay involved with? What have you experienced staying involved with from that point to shooting? Were you ever on set? And do you kind of keep up with script changes that they make on set while shooting?
It all depends on the project. It all depends on the director. It all depends on everything. Linda, of course, was very open to all of that. And Brian, Chris, I wrote you on that. Was much, much more involved in the production of it. He stayed very, very involved. I was also, just by choice, I did go up to the set, and I'm not great on sets. So I just, like I said, attention span of a gnat, so it's like my work is done, and I just kind of stand around going, digitally, and so, you invariably found the sound guy and hang out with him in the corner and listen to everything that way. But it's not always my favorite thing to do, although I know a lot of people really enjoy it. But Linda was very, very interactive and very collaborative, and a lot of them are that way. But it all depends on the project.
Well, good to know that, yeah, not everyone has to be on set, and it's not for everyone. I think, at least when I came here to LA, the thought I had and that a lot of people I met were talking about was you just have to be on set. It's just the most magical thing. Then you get there and you realize, oh, there's hours between setups and takes and going over lines, and you watch some person go over a line over and over and over again till they get it, and then there's a car honking outside, so you have to reshoot the whole scene. It was a very different experience. It was not as much magical as was practical magic of just saying, oh my gosh, here's how it all works and here's how you work around everyday life while you're trying to make this story, a pretend story, make it live on screen. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of crazy what goes on. There was during Murray's, in fact, there was about, like, if I remember correctly, that would show up with a leaf blower
oh,
and stand outside blowing leaves and just until you pay him some money and then would leave. And it was just his gig. So
wow.
that's what he did.
Yep, always something.
Always something.
Well, you've been busy, if I can say that. You've been busy in the last 5, 6, 7 years, if you will. I know you've worked with Bobby or with Muse, is that right?
But just one, basically on the weekend. That was my first one thing.
Okay, so that is called the Wish Swap.
Yes.
Okay, and
Mhm.
so for everyone listening, it will have just come out the weekend prior, but the Wish Swap, and is that streaming on?
It's Hallmark. It will be on
Okay,
Hallmark Plus. It will
okay,
be on several more times this year.
okay. The Wish Swap. With this movie, The Wish Swap, where did the first idea come from?
So this was not my idea. This was a work for hire.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, yeah. Michael at News had reached out to me about another project, and they were looking to bring another writer on. And he had liked a project I had done apparently, and thought, hey, let's just have a call. And Bobby contacted me, and he said, hey, we're going to call job. And they were great. And they sent me something and said, this may be fine. And we found there's someone who would be able to write on that and pop in. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. And then he comes and said, okay, that's shelved, but we have this other one that popped. And they had turned in just the basic half a page, I think, a page maybe.
Hmm.
The concept of the wish had to Hallmark, then Avamore, it was like, yeah, it's gonna go fast.
Wow.
To write it. And I'm like, sure. So Michael and I got on the phone call and we just brainstormed. And that's always a little intimidating with someone that you've never worked with before,
Hmm.
to just sit there and kick ideas and what about this and what about that, and stuff like that. And, we can't do that because there was a movie like that, a couple months ago, or, just different things like that. But they were great. They were absolutely great to work with and just completely put me at ease to fill out anything. And we came up with a basic idea, and went from that. and turned it around real quickly. The director that was put on it, David Strasser, he directed my previous project, and I had never worked with him before, and then just did 2 in a row with him. It just worked out that way. So that was great. He's real good too. I get notes and look at changes, and it was done.
That's great. So, of your projects, has that been the first work for hire, or has it been multiple that have been work for hire?
I've been approached before about other things. There's a producer named Beth Gersbach who's reached out to me a lot. We worked together on a project called Snow Coming. There was a spec project of mine, and she took it in and about May. And then she brought a book to me. She and another producer named Lisa Denver. And then we went on to do a bunch more, and they brought another book to me, and just brought me on the things. So that was great. And we already had the relationship established. So just kind of eased right into that.
Yeah.
I think this was the first time someone I didn't know talking didn't work on something. So yeah.
That's good. And it speaks to the relationships and the importance of, like you're saying, working with someone and having a good time so that when they come back, like that director, was it David Strasser? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You're able to have a rapport with them and know how each other works. I guess I have some questions about. I see you've written some holiday movies as well as some romance. Is there a genre or a certain aspect you like more than the rest, or do you like going around different areas within that genre?
Yeah, I do. I mean, and I love exploring the boundaries of rom-coms. I
Hmm.
have a rom-com that's out with producers right now that's not right for Hallmark, but it's a Christmas project and it's a little more action romance.
Yeah.
And we'll see what that sells some it's inappropriate. So it's kind of fun to put things around. I do a lot of rom-coms, but I also like to do thumbs up. And so it's kind of fun to explore that more in the over the goes.
And keeps you a little more well-rounded, I bet, being able to kind of see different areas of it, not just one lane.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's talk about a couple questions. I've asked some friends and pulled some other people at work about what would you ask a screenwriter, and especially one about rom-coms or any kind of holiday or romance movies. And so I have some of these written down here, and let's frame it with the wish swap. Knowing this was a concept you were given, then kind of fleshed out and wrote in a short amount of time. With this movie coming out, when did the hook and premise really flesh out? What is that process like when you know the crux of what has to happen, you start filling in the other pieces?
New Swap was a very fast turnaround.
Hmm.
So it was a little different than some of the other ones where you had a little more breathing room. And so, like I said, Michael and I were on the phone for 2 hours and just kicked ideas around. And then Joe got involved and he was putting stuff in about it. And Joe was involved. And so it was very quick. And we just, what about this, what about that? Maybe we could do this. No, they don't like this. Or they have another movie coming with that. So you have no changes with it. It's not normally that rushed. So there's plenty of times it is. Plenty of times it's,
Yeah.
we're going into prep. You make these changes. And I was talking to a different producer about a project. And it just takes me forever to come up with Act One.
Hmm.
I mean, I tend to write from page one on. I don't write bits and pieces all over the place like I know other people do. But it takes me forever, it feels like, to get through the first act because you have to find the characters and you have to find their voices and have to figure out who they are and what it is they want. And other people can see right there, but that's where it takes me the time is to lay that foundation for stuff that's going to go up later.
Yeah.
But when it's a fast project, you do it really so.
I know I've heard lots of different screenwriters talk about their processes. Do you like note cards? Are you on a computer? Are you typewriting? Do you like Final Draft? Are you in Word? What's some of those little technical aspects like for you?
I never used to outline. I have a friend named Rich who is like the king of the outline. He's got the color-coded spreadsheet and the cards, and he's got everything so coded out so that when he sits down, it's just like he goes right through it.
Yeah.
I never used to do that. I used to be a well-seat-of-the-pants writer. And then, of course, when you get hired to write something, they want to see an outline. And so I started outlining so much. It's actually really helpful. I should have done this all along.
Mm-hmm.
So now, yeah, I'm a big believer in the outline. I'd rather look at the problems in 10 pages and see what's going on there. So yeah, I do that. I tend to, even if I'm not being paid for that, I tend to not do that. Just to make sure I'm paying the beats, especially when stuff like Hallmark projects where you have your line acts and you know you have to hit certain beats at certain times and work around, the commercial breaks and things like that. Yeah, I kind of go from page one. And then generally when I start work the next day, I go back over what I wrote all the way through. And I kind of read through it and edit and change things. And So by the time I get done, the stuff that's in Act One is being read a bunch of different things and stuff at the end is where all the typos here. So,
Yeah, always a game, like you're saying, of start from the beginning or jump around, do different pieces. It sounds like you found what's worked for you, and now with outlining, but definitely lots of different processes, it sounds like, for each person. For you, in writing the Hallmark or the rom-com or the holiday movie, knowing that you have to have an organic chemistry between two actors you don't even know who they're going to hire most of the time,
yeah.
how do you kind of keep it genuine yet relatable and not too tropey, but also familiar enough for people to feel comfortable with where the story's going?
That is the challenge, isn't it? It's like finding something different, and especially in the rom-com world, where it seems to be considered more predictable
Yeah.
in the rom-com world. And I can go off on a whole tangent about that. Because it's like, there's always like, oh, Hollywood's got a whole new second plot point this year. So can you imagine Marvel? Let me see
Yeah.
you do it with Marvel. Because it flows out the same way, right? It's the same thing. They're saving the world again. The joke appears the first 22 minutes of that kind of thing. And so I
Yeah.
can go off with you. I will not do that. But yeah, you want to find stuff that has that same comfort factor that meets people's expectations of what they're come to see a rom-com for, while still going, man, it's so cool. That's a different way to do that. Or, oh, I didn't see that coming. Or, oh, there's a twist too. But and it just evolves organically. I think as they're writing, I get ideas and I go back and check the plays. I should figure out the characters. It helps me a lot to, I write a final draft last.
Hmm.
But it also helps me a lot to take my life up and personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, San Diego has some beaches that are nice for that. And yeah, I will go sit out at Torrey Pines or the Brooklyn
Yeah.
and write down notes and tones. And sometimes I can just writing some longhand just feels different. It's just like just keep writing, don't pick it up, and just go. And things will shape through that way. I mean, run better to people do. It's really
That's great. Yeah. Not a bad idea to have a beautiful vista or just a change of scenery anytime you need to write. I guess my next question following that is, dialogue and banter is so important when it comes to a rom-com or a holiday movie where it's much more talking than there are Marvel movie explosions or something else going on. How do you feel like you get the most engaging or witty dialogue? Are you sitting in cafes? Are you going around a lot of people? Are you watching TV? Are you reading books? How do you feel like you pull what you need to create a voice for each character?
it just evolves. I think that's part of what I've been about the act one taking forever is figuring
Hmm.
out the voices and figuring out how to do that. The dialogue itself, it just comes. I wish there was a signature. I listen to people, I talk to people. My daughters are hilarious, and I listen to them a lot.
Hmm.
And yeah, you read, you listen, you absorb stuff. You write down good lines that come to you that you're sure you're going to remember, but you're not. So I have a file for those that I try to incorporate in from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah, dialogue's a thing, and I enjoy it. And I enjoy trying to say, okay, is there a cool way to say this? Is there a funnier way to say this? And it doesn't always translate. That
Yeah.
makes back sometimes that are just like, I don't know what you mean by that. It's meant to be funny, so much for that. Plug.
Do you feel like writing and all these different elements we've already talked about, how have they differed in the streaming age? I know you had a couple projects gone, script to screen in the early 2010s. 2007 was the other one. How have things changed as streaming has become the giant it has been versus what you were doing maybe earlier on in your career?
Yeah, it's so changed everything. I mean, I think what I'm doing is different than what I was doing early on.
Hmm.
But I still do love doing indie projects. I did a project called Next Week You Can, created by two amazing women. And Monica that lived in Texas, and we're still in touch, and we're still hoping to work together again. And that's just a different experience than Hallmark projects, but it was also a function of them and just who they are and how they approach the project and how interactively with each other.
Yeah.
That was the thing where it's like when I'm working with them, the last day of shooting, I got a text at like 2 a.m. They're doing the shoot. And they said, "Hey, she's still up." And like, yeah, you don't need to go. What am I doing tonight? I'm not sleeping. You know that. And so it's like, we have to be at the same. So it's just that stuff does not happen, And so there's a lot more of that kind of, oh, it's so much fun. Let's do it. And you see it. So, whereas Hallmark really have done this thing. They know they're doing exactly how to do it.
Yeah.
And so they're like the movies. They're really, really good at it. So it's two different worlds.
I guess it prompts for me in talking about Hallmark and knowing these worlds. It feels like romance has shifted and changed everything from gay marriage being legalized and seeing more diverse faces across all kinds of different mediums. With Hallmark or Netflix or anyone making these kind of holiday movies, rom-coms, how do you feel like the romance is evolving, or how have their storylines evolved in the last 10 years or so?
Certainly in Hallmark, that has changed. There's been a lot more diversity of stories, or more than when maybe that guy's gay potential best friend.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And there's still so much work to be done, but it's nice that we're seeing not only of this. Netflix had Red, White, and Royal Blue. Did you catch that?
No, uh-uh.
It's based on a book. It was really cute. It's like the son of the American president falls in love with the son
Oh,
of
I
the
did catch that one. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and it was just a rom-com. It could have been any genders, and it
Yeah.
worked, And I love seeing that. I love where that's not a big deal. It's kind of like a story between two people who are good for each other. And
Yeah.
the rest of it we'll figure out as we go. So I look forward to the stories that are going to grow out of that diversity as we continue to improve it.
Yeah, same here. It's one of those things where I've liked seeing different main characters, a little different storylines here, but also still staying within the comfort of the genre and saying, oh, you can tell this person's background or their kind of love story in a similar format and still enjoyable. So that's great to
I'm
hear.
also looking forward to seeing more romance between older people.
Yeah.
You want to see some of that, without making them look silly. So often we see everything with anybody over a certain age, they're just silly. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, these are good people. These are people, and they have lives and dreams still, and passions. And let's see some of that. It doesn't have to be all 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
So I would love to see more of that too.
Yeah, I remember when It's Complicated came out, I want to say 2012 or so. I loved that movie, and I really thought, I'm like, oh, here we go. We have a whole generation of actors and actresses who are still some of the best actors and actresses on the planet. Let's get them in rom-coms. And I agree with you. I don't think we've seen enough of it, but it's hopefully getting a little closer.
Yeah, we're seeing more of that, but it's also some of it I just cringe because it's so
Yeah.
stop with the old cartridge jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like in the last year or so, we've seen a lot of uh, age swap movies of, older women dating younger men or otherwise. I felt like Anne Hathaway, Nicole Kidman had a couple of them. There was a couple of those movies that came out, and I was like, oh, that's different. That's kind of exciting to see something different. But I'm with you on hoping we get a couple different stories to push us beyond the 25 to maybe 40 boundaries that seem to be there for a lot of rom-coms.
Right. I really want to see that. I enjoyed that. It felt a little bit like their styles fan fiction,
Mm-hmm.
but it was cute. And she's great. It's amazing. So keep it a good job.
I guess without, showing all your cards, what's the next kind of story you're looking to write or what's in the earliest stages? Can you tease some things that are on your mind that you'd like to see, see yourself write a script out of?
Yeah, I actually don't know if other projects I can't talk about because they haven't been announced.
That's good.
And so they're taking up a lot of my time, but there's always stuff in the back of my mind if there's something to work on, if he's on the J. I have a project that I maybe write. It's a comedy, the comedy. And I haven't drafted it, and it's just not there.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I'm going to try to do this year is figure out, okay, why am I doing this wrong? What's going on? It's, so they can get some opinions about it. Like, why does it not work? It's a great idea. It's super passable. And I'm not going to draw any. I need to figure it out. And I think sometimes walking away from things for a while is helpful.
Yeah.
But I have three other screenwriters that I know for a very long time. And we have a little WhatsApp channel where we just sit and, kick ideas around and things like that. So that, make sure we speak up. Okay. That's coming out there. I want to do more, like I said, more things that are romance, but also pushing the action genre a little bit.
Yeah.
I think too often when we see female-led action stars, it's like they pull piano out and drop Charlize in
Mm-hmm.
and didn't change anything else. And so the female lead is acting a lot like the male lead who acted in the situation and not all the other things that come with it. And so I'd love to see that where it's more toward from the female perspective.
All exciting in all genres that hopefully you'll have the opportunity to work in. I feel like it's always that game of you got to break through the wall of breaking a script, and then you get into it, and then you have another wall of, like you said, act one or the characters or what's the inciting incident, what's the problem there. So
Yeah, why am I doing this wrong? What is
yeah,
it? You don't have to find out, and I'll get it. I know one.
yeah.
So
With as much as you are writing and these movies are being made, do you find yourself watching a lot still, or do you kind of distance yourself from that?
see, I've always been on TV lately. There's been so much good TV on. In terms of series, like I just finished Summer Somewhere. Did you watch it?
No, uh-uh.
Fantastic. It's they went to 3 seasons of it, and they stopped when they wanted to. It's on HBO, which I guess is Max now. I'm gonna deaden that forever. So, but just the most amazing character portrayals. It was one of those where it ended. I really miss those characters for days. So that's just humorous. How you make characters that people miss, that people mourn the loss of.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of stuff I've been watching. That I really, I'm enjoying seeing the TV that's going on. But yeah, I do try to catch, all the Christmas movies and the things that are running, the different things for that money throughout the year. This is good to know. It's your job, right?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's important you have to be in it without watching more than you're writing for sure.
And you really don't want to be pitching a movie that they just had a person of thought,
Yeah,
that's fun. Pitch
gotta
Jack.
have a lay of the land. Well, I think it's powerful to tell the kind of stories you're telling and the way in which you're telling them, and also comforting to know that you're going to have new movies out for the holiday or new movies out when you want a new rom-com or a romance movie. So I hope everyone tunes in to watch The Wish Swap.
Yeah, it's a cute one. It really is.
I guess last question before we go, for anyone who's looking into screenwriting or wants to learn about writing rom-coms or taking something from script to pitching and meeting people, what's the best way for them to reach out to you? Is there social media, or do you have an agent or otherwise, or?
If people do reach out to me, addresses on my IMDb page, my son or to me, just touching questions, and I'm happy to talk to people. I'm also on Instagram.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll make sure we have it linked in the show notes for anyone who's listening and wants to get in contact with you, Betsy. And thank you again for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Madison, we've been talking Valentine's Day. Do you have any Valentine's Day traditions?
To eat dinner alone.
Brutal traditions. I mean, gals have Galentine's Day. I've had a few friends try whatever, Guyentines, Broentines, whatever
Yeah.
you call it. It never really takes off, though, right?
No.
I don't think we have the same
No.
desire.
I think last year I was on a week-long camping trip in the desert by myself. That was pretty nice.
That's true. That would be a good way to spend it.
Yeah.
Well, for everyone listening, this is our new bookend series called Movies You Might Have Missed. So we just want to talk about two movies apiece that we enjoy or that we think is interesting, and it's maybe one you have missed. So it's February, it's Valentine's, it's Black History Month. What do you have for us, Madison?
I'm coming out of left field with a sleeper pick for Valentine's. This is not a Valentine's movie, but it is about love. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Ooh, okay.
That original
okay.
trilogy. I recently watched through those again. Just amazing movie making.
Yeah.
They're fun. So much of it is practical, which is just fun to watch on screen. It's kind of insane that Disney got away with making those movies in the first place. And like the cast, amazing. Johnny Depp, Orlando Bloom, Keira Knightley, Joffrey Rush, love it. And it's kind of a love story, when you put it next to movies of today, the entire plot revolves around Elizabeth Swann essentially becoming a woman, and the end goal is her getting married and losing her virginity. That's the point of the movies. And
Wow.
she's pissed. She's pissed because her wedding got interrupted in the first one. And that's her whole, that's her one-armed man. That's her thing that she's doing is she's like, I'm pissed in my wedding day and I still am a virgin. And so I'm going to go on this whole pirate adventure. I'm going to become the pirate king so that I can get married on a boat in a whirlwind.
It's not trad wife, trad pirate.
Trad pirate. I love these movies because obviously they're fun, but also they would do huge numbers in the box. I mean, they did huge numbers in the past, right? But like an original story, I mean, now it's kind of a franchise, but at the time, original story based off some loosely known IP, with like actors who were clearly born to play the roles. A lot of like adventure, swashbuckling, but like practical effects, practical stunts, so fun, with like a great soundtrack to boot. And like all those pieces coming together, it's fantastic. And then it's also just kind of, it's about this awesome love story between Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley, which is to say Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann. And it kind of dips its toe into this stupid like love triangle stuff with Jack Sparrow in the second one. I'm like, really? But like it really comes home and is like, actually, no, this is just about Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann. And then it's like, you know, the kind of heartthrob stuff where it's like, oh, they're meant for each other, but actually like he's got to spend 10 years at sea now. And, you know, they're only going to be able to fuck once every 10 years. How unfair, unjust.
Especially around Valentine's Day. What a sad reality. All right, Pirates series. I mean, for many of our listeners around our age, this was a huge franchise. It was a touchstone. For those younger or perhaps older who maybe missed out on this when it came out, this is your good chance to watch it.
Yeah, I don't know if people miss this as much as you should go back and revisit this.
There you go. Good clarity there. We're going to have a lot of movies in this series that you have seen before, but this is your invitation to rewatch. I think especially with streaming and there just being everything to watch that are new, of varying quality, we'll do maybe not tend to watch things over, maybe a series more than a movie, but Pirates, and it's streaming all on Disney Plus, right?
Yeah, it is.
Now, do you like the fourth one?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, all right.
I did. I mean, let's be fair. It's not as good as the original three.
Yeah,
but it's cool. Like Penelope Cruz is in it. I love Penelope Cruz.
You know?
There's not a lot to dislike about her.
Yeah.
I will say the fifth one, horrible, just bad.
You know, I was going to ask, and I thought I had it wrong. I was like, is there a fifth one? What's the fifth one?
I think it's called Dead Man Tells No Tale. And Javier Bardem is in it. He's some kind of pirate ghost. I don't know. I just remember. Well, I
2017. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I remember I only saw it once. And typically, if I only ever see a movie once, it was either A, way too emotional for me, or B, it just wasn't good.
Okay, and that's probably the latter on that one. Stranger Tides. That's the fourth one. Stranger Tides. Still good.
Yeah.
Penelope. Yeah, different screenwriter for the final one, or for the fifth one, Dead Men Tell No Tales. When a sixth comes out, are you going to go see it?
Of course I am. And like I was just going to say, there's always whispers in the rumor mill that like Disney's working on rebooting the franchise with new actors. Like I've heard Margot Robbie's attached to it. I don't know if Johnny Depp will ever come back to it. I mean, honestly, it's probably okay to just let Captain Jack Sparrow kind of go away, because it's okay to let stories become about other characters as actors age out and as like different cultural relevancies take place, you know.
Yeah. All right, the Pirate series on Disney Plus. I'm going to kick us off with a rom-com of sorts called Juliet Naked. Juliet, Naked. Now, the title sounds scandalous. Have you ever heard of this movie?
No.
It was a small one back in the days of MoviePass 2018. It's an hour and a half long, maybe an hour and 40. 2018, it is rated R. It's a little adult at times, but it's a rom-com that is both familiar and unconventional at the same time. It's the story of Rose Byrne, who is Annie Platt, and her boyfriend, played by Chris O'Dowd, Duncan Thompson, living in this small little seaside British town. She works at a museum, and he's a teacher, something like that. And Chris O'Dowd is a huge fan of this mysterious musician, Tucker Crowe. And he runs a blog site, and he talks about it all the time. This Tucker Crowe released a couple albums and then just kind of disappeared. And Chris O'Dowd's character is absolutely obsessed. So much so that Rose Byrne's Annie is pissed. And they get in a big fight, and she hops on to his blog site, trashes Tucker Crowe, all these things. And then a guy from the blog site messages her and claims he's Tucker, and he's like, hey, you're totally right. I was self-absorbed. That is a total menial album. It sucks. So he sends these demos no one's heard from the album to Rose Byrne, which causes her to Chris O'Dowd to split, all kinds of things. And Tucker Crowe, played by Ethan Hawke, comes to England and says, "Hey, come meet me. Let's hang out in London." And this whole thing erupts of her loser boyfriend who will never commit, who's probably cheating on her, has been obsessed with this artist that now she's hated because of this. Then she gets to meet him. It's super sweet. Ethan Hawke is the most endearing man on planet Earth in my eyes, so he's just great. Rose Byrne is so cute, and she can be British, closer to Australian than in her American accents. She's great in it. It's a little bit of a touristy movie of going different places and seeing different things, family dynamics. It doesn't end how you think it's going to end, which is nice, but it's still really cute, and you get to have Ethan Hawke show off his singing chops. So he hops on an old Wurlitzer and does a rendition of a Kinks song, Waterloo and Sunset, and it's just cute. So it's a quick watch. It got a couple awards at some of the film festivals I went to. It's not going to be a 10 out of 10, but if you're wanting an unconventional rom-com movie with some good music and Ethan Hawke, this is a good one. Juliet.
I like Ethan Hawke. I think he's a standout actor.
He's just great. He gives it all. It's one of those things where like you're watching it and you're like, is he just playing Ethan Hawke in this movie? He might be. This could have been his story about being an actor and someone being obsessed. But I think it's just a good, quick one. I like to watch it around Valentine's Day.
Interesting.
And it's on HBO Max.
Cool.
Let's hit your next one.
Okay, so here's a Black History Month movie that you might have missed.
Ooh.
Black Klansman.
Oh, yeah.
Really good movie. I remember the first time that I watched this. This was back in, I don't know, 2015 maybe is when it came out, around there.
2018.
2018? Okay, so this is 2018. So this is like, it came out in the middle of the first Trump administration. I had just graduated from college. And, like a lot of shit was happening in the world. I mean, okay, it feels like we've been speed running shit happening in the world the last 10 years, but this was a tumultuous time to be in America. Not that it hasn't changed that, but Black Klansman is a historical, like it was a real thing that happened, I think, right? Because you're a history guy. It was based on a real story.
Based on true events, yeah.
Where you get this black police officer who creates a telephone relationship with David Duke, the head of the KKK, and convinces him that he's a white guy. And then he's starting to get all this like inside information about the Klan. And then his police cop partner, played by
Adam Driver,
has to go be the front man and be the white guy that John David Washington is pretending to be. And it's a really good movie because it is like one part black comedy and one part historical fiction, I guess, kind of, but also it's unsettling in its ending just because they use real talking points from politicians today.
Yeah.
And then I remember over the credits, they play real news footage of stuff that happened in Charlottesville and like real talking points from real presidential candidates and presidents.
Yeah.
And you realize that we're not in a post-racial society at all. And in fact, like civil rights movements are kind of getting rolled back right now. And it's a really good movie that I think everyone should watch as a kind of a foundation for wanting to do something about it.
Yeah, it is based on that true story of Ron Stallworth. And I'll say, as far as I could find in my research when I first watched it, it's pretty dang close to the reality of what happened there. And you gotta love Spike Lee. I mean, his double dolly shot when they're going down that hallway at the end is just so good. It's his favorite thing to do. But everyone's a standout. How much do you love Topher Grace in this movie as David Duke?
He does a really good job.
Yeah.
I mean, at no point am I like, oh, that's no longer Topher Grace, because he's just such a Topher Grace kind of guy. But he did a really good job at kind of leaning into the ham-fisted nature of being the Klan leader. I will say that, when you watch a trailer for this, it's kind of sold to you as a comedy, like it's a little bit of a black comedy.
Yeah.
But then it starts like that. It starts kind of funny with some quips and some jokes and some humor. But then the more it goes on, the more serious it gets, and the more you're like, oh, this actually isn't funny because this is real. Its plot points and the subject matter is way too close to home, and therefore it robs the humor of humor and it turns into horror, which is good movie making.
It is good movie making. If we talk about cast and who's involved here, directed by Spike Lee, written by four different writers. Charlie Watchell, Spike Lee contributes, Kevin Wilmette, David Rabinowitz, based on the book by Ron Stallworth that he wrote about his experience. But the other crazy part is this was pitched to Spike Lee by Jordan Peele. So Jordan Peele received the script, saw it, and was like, I can't direct this, but Spike, you've got to do it. And another one of the producers is Jason Blum. So you can see some of these elements coming together of like Jordan Peele-ness being involved and kind of giving some direction. Jason Blum and his horror roots kind of giving some direction because it definitely gets scary at times. I just remember some of the Adam Driver scenes where he's with the Klansman and it was like, what's going to happen next? Who's getting shot? Yeah. This is a good one. It's for rent on VOD, maybe Prime Video, if not video on demand.
It's good. I probably will try and go out of my way to watch it again this month, just because it's good, but also because I'm wanting to watch content to fire me up to do something.
There you go. Black Klansman. I will wrap up our movies you might have missed series for today with another movie in honor of Black History Month and a great one from 2018. 2018 was a great year in movies. If Beale Street Could Talk. Did you ever see this movie?
I don't think I did.
Oh my gosh. I'm just going to say I'm a sucker. If the music's good, I'll let a lot of things slide. This one, you don't have to let anything slide, but the music is absolutely amazing. I sometimes just listen to the score because I think it's just that good. If Beale Street Could Talk, 2018, this is the movie that got Regina King her Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in a really star-studded field that year too. Kiki Lane plays Tish Rivers. So Kiki Lane is the star of the movie, but Stephen James, who I absolutely love, plays Alonzo Fani Hunt. You have Regina King. You've got Coleman Domingo in it. You have got just a handful of fantastic character actors surrounding them. Brian Tyree Henry from Bullet Train and Atlanta. You have a great cast here and amazing music. And this is a story about the African American experience and black neighborhoods and black families and dealing with cops pulling someone because they're black and putting them in prison. So Fonny, played by Stephen James, gets put in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Now, the thing with the movie is you're seeing from the perspective of his wife. She is pregnant, and as she's pregnant, her family's trying to look for housing. She's running into all these racial barriers in what seems to be the 1970s, I would say. She's also trying to break all the stereotypes and get her husband out of jail for a crime he didn't commit. Directed by Barry Jenkins, so you know it's going to be good. Written by Barry Jenkins and James Baldwin. This is one where the jazz background music and the flutes kind of take you through these beautiful vistas. The shots are absolutely incredible. And the whole time, it's a mix of sweetness as she's kind of journaling and writing and narrating her love for Fonny. But at the same time, you see all these struggles within the families and all these different little aspects and fights she has to have. They like go traveling, all these things to try and get him out because she's going to have her baby and the father needs to be there. And he is in there for a crime he didn't commit. So if Beale Street Could Talk, it's a good one. It's not action-packed or a talkie, I would say, as some of the other ones from this year. But I would say that this movie, if you're ready to sit down and just kind of resonate with the vibe and watch it, it's beautiful. Some of the scenes between them are some of the most beautiful sex scenes and beautiful love scenes. She's staring at him. He's staring at her. You get a little lens flare. A beautiful movie. It's about 2 hours long. It can feel long at moments, but for the most part, I would say the performances just make it. So, like, no wonder Regina King got her Oscar. She's so good in this one. So, yeah.
I also love a good soundtrack.
Yeah, just put it on. Put it on before you watch the movie, after you watch the movie. I don't care. It's on Hulu. It does leave soon from Hulu, so it's also for rent elsewhere. Beale Street Could Talk, directed by Barry Jenkins.
Cool. Great rec.
Let's wrap it up there for today. Enjoy your Valentine's traditions, whatever they may be. Check out the movies we've mentioned today. We'll have them linked in the show notes on Spotify and elsewhere. And have a good rest of your weekend.